We're back again with two more books here. Book 11, The House of Winter. Book 12, Written in the Stars. Kind of a contrasting set of books this time. I really liked House of Winter, great setup. Very supernatural, high on the supernatural end. Written in the Stars, fairly low on the supernatural end. Much more going into the daily lives of the three main girls. I like them both. Let's learn a little bit about them. Book 11, The House of Winter. This takes place around Yule, near the end of December. Around December, I think it's 21 or 22 is when it usually is. And this is supposed to be the opposing Sabbath or Sabbath, whatever it is, whichever it is, to the midsummer. So I'd initially assumed that this would be a kind of mirror to In the Dreaming in some way, where we would see the Oak and Holly Kings fight. It doesn't happen in this one, but maybe that's a good thing for variety. Instead, there's a retreat at a remote hotel. And there are definite parallels to The Shining, the film. I don't know about the book, but definitely the film to this. So the two coven groups, I keep forgetting one of them, the Circle of the Green Wood, I think is one, and the Crone Circle Coven. They organize a retreat at this hotel. This has been happening for a number of years. And the girls go along, they're invited. That's Annie, Kate, Cooper, and Sasha, among various others. And so they're staying there for about a week. During this week, there are going to be activities where they explore different concepts related to Wicca, thematically linked to the four elements. Now, each of the four girls conveniently has a different path they get involved in. So Cooper goes along with the path of quote unquote air, which is about using music to celebrate Wicca, which is predictable. Not bad, but I mean, of course you would go with music. Kate goes along with the water pathway related to meditations and talking with people, reflecting. Annie goes the earth pathway related to the concepts of death and rebirth. And Sasha goes with fire, the pathway of dancing. We really don't see much of Sasha's pathway, other than a few mentions of her very briefly about what they do. The other three, we do take a look into this. With Cooper in the music pathway, there are some scenes involving her helping to write music with people, and then making a collective song related to their feelings about Wicca. Fairly mundane, not much to say about it. With Annie, this really links together with her ongoing journey dealing with death. And so in this, there's a bit of an activity where people go through a couple of rounds of this ritual where half of them, in each case, are dead, half are alive. And the alive ones act as psychopomps, guardians to the realm of death for the dead ones. And they do a very symbolic series of events in which the alive ones guide the dead people to the underworld. And then these dead people eventually return to the land of living reborn. Very nice, actually, to see that kind of played out. The third, with Kate, the fourth one, in the meditation area, this really links much more into what's going on in the main plot. So at this hotel, back up a little bit, at this hotel is owned by a couple of people. They have twin daughters. Again, predictable somewhat of The Shining. Though not badly, I did enjoy it. These twin daughters are Nora and Lucy. Nora seems very easygoing. Lucy seems very nervous and tense. And in Lucy, the tense one, is with Kate in the meditation group. And Lucy reveals to Kate, unknowingly, they're blindfolded at this time, some very unsettling information about something that she thinks is going to happen. She thinks a very bad event is about to happen. And we come to find out this is because the hotel is haunted. Though the owners of the hotel don't really know about that. They know it's haunted by legend, but not by actuality. But the twin girls, Nora and Lucy, know about this because they each met one of the ghosts, who were also twins from over 100 years ago, in the 1800s. Apparently back then, these two twins, who I'm not going to name because to avoid confusion with the current twins, but these twins apparently were involved in some kind of solitary form of practicing magic. They could do things from an early age, influence people, etc. And apparently these two twins, they died around 15 or 16 years old. Mysteriously, they fell from the hotel. And both Nora and Lucy have been talking to one twin each, not telling each other what the twins said. And it turns out that these twins, these ghosts, say opposing bad things about each other. They each say the other ghost is the bad one who did something bad. And that's the reason that the two girls died. And so the four girls, Sasha, Kate, Annie, Cooper, get involved with Nora, the easygoing one. See a ghost with her, one of the ghosts of the twins, saying that Lucy is being influenced by the evil twin, the evil ghost twin, and they have to help her. But Lucy is very reticent in trusting anyone. And so the girls come to interact with Lucy quite a bit and Nora quite a bit. And I'm not going to say exactly what happens with the ghosts, because that is very a late plot spoiler. And it's actually something in which you think it would go one way, but it actually goes another. It's done, I think, cleverly in how it's planned out, so it's not immediately obvious as a cliche or a subversion. But done very well. So one of the ghosts, though, turns out to be evil, quote unquote. They want to control people. They have no qualms about killing people to get what they want. And so it so happens that toward the end of this week, there's a big storm. People get stormed in, and the ghost, the evil ghost, is gaining power through a series of events. And the girls have to do something to stop the ghost from killing the currently living twins, which looks like it's going to happen. Now the girls do various things to stop this. They get information about the early deaths. And for some reason, I don't understand why. This is one of the flaws of the book. The girls decide not initially to tell the dozens of other seasoned Wicca practitioners about this. I don't really understand why, but they decide not to try and fix it just by themselves. Bit of a plot hole, I think. But things go sideways. Eventually, they do enlist the help of the other Wicca practitioners and need to do this very large-scale ritual with all these Wicca practitioners, and they end up, as I assume would imagine. I don't think there's really a spoiler to say because how else would this go? They end up defeating or foiling the plans of the evil dead twin. I don't think that's much of a spoiler because it would be kind of bizarre for the evil twin to win, especially since this is not near the end of the series. And most of these plot lines have been, the main plot lines anyway, have been fairly contained in a single book. So it'd be kind of strange to switch things up all that at this point. That's this book. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. Was kind of surprised in the last quarter with how intense things got. It didn't seem like it would be that intense in the last quarter. But there are definitely some surprising things happening in this to really bring up the suspense. So I really like that. The allusions to The Shining were enjoyable. They didn't detract from the book at all. Like it. Then we come to the more mundane book number 12, Written in the Stars. And I don't say mundane as a bad thing. I really enjoyed it. I do like to have some of these books at least very low key on the supernatural elements, and just look at kind of the girls' lives and how various events in their lives are, bringing them to different choices. So Written in the Stars, this occurs just after New Year's, early January. And we have a few different plot lines going on. So in no particular order, Kate, her thing is that her parents are slowly coming to allow her to do various things with Wicca. They're still not talking about it comfortably. They're not really asking questions of her. The main difference here is that Kate, and this is kind of a minor plot, Kate starts to get two things happening. She starts to talk to her brother about Wicca. From I think 2 or 3 books ago, her brother reacted very negatively. He thought it was basically just some kind of joke that she's involved in this. And it comes to be that she makes him understand that really hurt her, that this is really important to her. And they get to talking a little bit about what Wicca is. She tries to explain it to him. And he seems to become much more open to talking about it, at least, if not believing in it, in a very brotherly way, which is very nice. Secondary to this, Kate is talking to Tyler a little bit, trying to figure out what their relationship is. And they come to a conclusion with this that is satisfying for both of them, not at all kind of too drama-laden, very mature way of resolving how things work. Second, and this is where the title comes from, Written in the Stars. Annie starts getting involved a little bit in astrology. She's skeptical of it. But she gets involved in it. They get some classes from an astrologer, somebody who does astrology on the side, and Annie gets her birth chart done. So this birth chart comes in. The astrologer herself is kind of oddly presented to me. She seems very careful about it. It's not like she's saying that this is like the some kind of huge predictive power that people are neglecting. Just that it shows trends in someone's lives. The odd thing though is that she's an astronomer as well, which, you know, I know people believe a lot of different kinds of things. It would seem kind of strange to me for an astronomer of all people to get into astrology. I would think they would be the most skeptical, but you know, it doesn't really detract from it. I just thought it was a weird detail to look at. But anyway, she gets her birth chart done, and some stuff is revealed. Some very generally said events, they match up. And this comes to something that is revealed toward the end of the book, the last about 1/3, that is very surprising. It seems to come out of left field. It's not necessarily unrealistic. It's just kind of surprising this is brought up. And it's a huge thing. So I'm not going to say what it is, but it's something about Annie's past that affects her family life, her view of her family. That we get a little taste of going forward toward the end. And I'm currently on the next book. This continues into the next book as well. Now, Cooper here is on the cover. And she's on the cover because her plot line in this is the most, I would say the most, well, I say dramatic, but that's not quite the right way of saying it. The most serious. So Jane and Cooper, still doing stuff together. Early in the book, Cooper finds out Jane is a lesbian, which Jane has been hiding from her. Jane is very uncomfortable about talking about this, especially with the recent breakup she had. Cooper finds this out. She's okay with this. Cooper talks to her friends about this a bit, trying to figure out how she should approach Jane in talking about this and making her more comfortable. This turns out to be the wrong thing to do because once Jane finds out Cooper told her friends, Jane is very upset. Cooper didn't mean anything bad by it. She swore her friends not to tell anybody, but Jane is very upset. To the point that Jane swallows a bunch of pills as a cry for help attempt at suicide. It's not a full attempt at suicide, but a cry for help. And this really hits Cooper hard. It does bring in Jane's parents, who often are not around they're away on business trips. They come around, not as uncaring parents. They specifically spend much more time with Jane. They care about her, but they're kind of shaken up by this. So is Cooper. And this comes to bring eventually Jane and Cooper closer as Cooper apologizes. They talk more about the situation, and Cooper tries to do everything she can to help Jane feel less stressed, less confused about the stress in their situation. And this also leads to Jane actually hanging out with Cooper's other friends. And also that Cooper's mother, a second thing, has been drinking quite heavily. Well, I don't know about heavily exactly, but getting drunk on evenings since the divorce happened. She's very stressed about this. She is very sad about it, and she's using that to cope. And Cooper's kind of upset by this. Jane actually sees her mother drunk during one visit. And Cooper does not resolve this at the end. By the end of this book, Cooper's mother is still drinking. Now, this is not to the point where Cooper's mother's work life is affected. She seems at least to be responsible enough to not be drunk during work, which she's a school teacher, so that's a good thing. But she's having a very hard time in the evenings, drinking a bunch of wine, listening to sad music, feeling very bad. And this continues on to the next book. Not sure if it gets resolved in the next book yet, but it definitely is quite a more serious plot line compared to the other ones. So again, really enjoyed this for the looking into the girls' lives and not just making their whole lives magical, looking at them just as people as well. So both of these quite enjoyable. So by this point, we just got 3 books left and 2 more videos. I'm coming very close to the end. Again, Ring of the Stars occurs in January. It's coming very close to the year and a day commitment, which, if I remember correctly, was in March or April, I think it was. Coming very close. We'll see how the series closes out. So until next video, bye-bye.